And I didn't see that before, so maybe I should try to get this down a little bit. Okay. It just kind of looked a little funky. Okay. There we go. Hopefully you can see me and hear me. My name is Kayla Cox. I'm the owner of this here channel, 6 Miles to Supper. And 6 Miles to Supper basically describes how I lost 80 pounds. I practiced intermittent fasting 6 days a week, and I walked 6 miles a day. Just a slow 6-mile walk, no crazy hard exercise or anything like that. And I got down to my goal weight. I really lost the weight in 2 different kind of batches, but I got down into the 140s in 2018, the end of 2018. And so since that time, I've been maintaining in the 140s. At least that's my goal. There have been times when my weight creeps up into the low 150s, and that's when I say, okay, I need to creep back down into the 140s. So there you go. So if you have questions about intermittent fasting, weight loss in general, walking, step goals, that kind of stuff, feel free to ask in the chat section. My husband is in here as 6 Miles to Supper, and he'll be moderating and all that good stuff. But if you have a question, please just feel free to put it in there, and I will do my best to answer it. Although I must say, I am not a nutritionist, a doctor, or a dietitian. So don't think this is medical advice, because I'm just not doing that. Oh, sorry, I just kicked the camera. That's not good. Okay, so I did want to. There's a couple of comments that are like just encouraging and that kind of thing, and so I wanted to read those. Paulette Smith 1505 says, Kayla, I know you don't read the comments, which I do not. My husband, though, is so kind to occasionally go through and, try to get the things that are maybe either helpful or common questions that are getting asked. Because I know that sometimes I maybe don't explain a thing well, and that is the one downside of not reading comments. There's a lot of pluses to it, but there's some minuses. So it's nice to have him do that. So thank you, Jay. And so she says, perhaps your husband will see this and let you know. The free spreadsheet download with the 7 rolling average is the bomb. Such an encouragement when the scale isn't doing a lot, but that rolling average is still trending down. Thank you for all you do. You're such a blessing to all of us. Well, thank you very kindly for those comments. But yeah, so the 7-day average, if you have not been keeping up with that, right now, if you're on the weight loss journey and you kind of are driving yourself crazy because the scale is just moving up and down, and you're kind of getting frustrated, or you kind of don't know, are you making progress? Are you gaining weight? Are you losing weight? That spreadsheet can really help you. Now, you could totally get an app maybe that could do this for you. I think Happy Scale does a version of like averaging weights and that kind of thing. I have not found an app yet that does a running 7-day average consistently. But I do have a spreadsheet, and I love spreadsheets. So I give one away for free. It's always been for free. And so you can download that, 6milestosupper.com/freebies. And I don't ask for your email. It's just a direct download. None of that stuff. You're not getting signed up for any lists. It's just something I found really helpful, and I want to offer that to anybody who is looking to try to lose weight and is maybe feeling frustrated because they just can't tell the trend. But what I did find was when I would average my weight, when I would just weigh every day and then keep looking at that 7-day average trend over time. So like weighing every day, yes. Making a note of that number, yes. Really not paying attention to it though, because there are going to be days on the weight loss journey where if you had Chinese food the night before, your water weight will probably increase by like 5 pounds. And so if you don't know that about weight and how it fluctuates, you can think, oh my gosh, I ate so much yesterday that I gained 5 pounds. But that's really not what happened. What happened was you like ate a thing that just causes the water to be like held in your body and probably makes you thirstier. So like there's a double whammy going on. And so like that weight will just go away. Like in a couple of days, it'll just fall off, because that's not true like what you think of as weight gain. True weight gain would be like fat coming onto your body, fat stores like increasing, that kind of thing. So anyway, so thanks for that comment. MBS Astrocast says, just wanted to thank you for the amazing encouragement and content. I'm inching closer to my goal weight. Lost 30 pounds in 4 months. That is awesome, by the way. The one cheat day works wonders, as I feel it resets my system and the weight still comes off. Continuously OMADing makes me stall and not drop as fast. Interesting. I love OMAD. Iced black Coffee is my go-to drink to stave off false hunger signals. Works for me. God bless you and your family. Well, thank you. Same to you. So yeah, so that is great, by the way. 30 pounds in 4 months, that is, man, that's like close to 2 pounds a week, which is a very, like, if right now you don't lose weight that fast, don't feel bad because I did not lose weight that fast. I lost an average when I had the most weight to lose. So when I went from being obese down to near a normal BMI, so technically still overweight, I was losing at a rate of about 1 pound per week. And then once I got down in the normal BMI, the rate of loss was 1/3 of 1 pound a week, which, by the way, that keeping track of the 7-day average and watching it over time was really helpful to help me see that I was actually still losing weight. Had I not known about averaging weight and all that and all that kind of thing, I think I would have probably thought when I got down to like 158 that was pretty much all the weight I was going to lose, because it was just so slow. It was just so, I mean, like 1/3 of a pound. Like when you're thinking about that, it's like, you know, at the beginning of a month and then at the beginning of a next month, your 7-day average is maybe down by a pound. It's just it's so slow. It can feel like, am I actually losing? But the 7-day average really did help with that. So, okay, so let's get to some questions. Pam Newman 6083 says, how do you work OMAD around having a family and considering their meals? Well, that's a really good question. So OMAD works great for me and my family, but it may not work great for yours. And so it's really important when you're considering any kind of eating plan to really think about, like, how will this play out in your own family? Some families are very different than mine. And so here is why intermittent fasting and then eventually OMAD worked great in my life. So we homeschool, and we kind of all were on a different schedule. Like when I was first going through the weight loss journey, you know, like I would get up at a certain time. Usually I was getting up super early to go to the gym. And that was like back in 2015. So I would get up really, really early. And then, and so I the breakfast thing didn't really come into play because I've been up for hours. And so my kids would have their breakfast whenever. And so it wasn't really a big deal. Lunch was the same way. Again, homeschoolers, you know, just kind of, some of us are kind of really laid back as far as like schedules and things like that. And that's how I've always been with homeschooling. It's like, you know, eat on your own schedule, eat when you're hungry, as opposed to having like a set time, like we must all eat at noon, whether we're hungry or not. And so, so they would eat kind of at different hours. And I didn't even realize that they didn't even really understand that I was fasting. So like, it was just a thing I was doing. I wasn't really talking about it. And so then people in my family really didn't know like that I was not eating breakfast and then eventually not eating breakfast or lunch, and eventually just getting to that point where I was just doing OMAD. But since then, my family life has changed as far as like, they know that I eat OMAD. And so how does that work in my family? Well, again, we're all kind of on different schedules right now. So it doesn't really come into play as far as like breakfast and lunch, because those are kind of, everybody's doing their own thing. But supper is like the one part of the day where I really do want us to all sit down together as a family and eat that meal together. As often as we can do that, that's what we try to do. So so it works well for me because that one meal is my OMAD, so it works. But I can imagine that there would be people who that's not going to work for them. OMAD's just going to be a poor fit. And if that's the case, that's okay. Like OMAD isn't the only way to lose weight. Really, any plan out there works, provided that you can stick with it. And like, there's nothing magic about OMAD, as opposed to like, say, a 16-8 or even a 12-12, or even just like counting calories. Like all of it comes down to, it just breaks down to, are you eating less than your body needs? Because if you do that, you will lose weight. And if you're eating more than your body needs, you're going to gain weight. And if you're eating just the right amount, you're going to stagnate. You're going to be in a plateau, or you're going to maintain. So, so if you are in that place where it's going to be a clash, like, so for example, if your kids just absolutely love having lunch with you, like it's a thing that you guys do, you just like, you put a lot of effort into it, and you also do supper, then probably it's gonna be better to just do 2 meals a day. Or like, that's like an idea. Like, don't do OMAD, do 2MAD. Uh, Otherwise, you know, like I really like eating with people when they're eating too. Like I don't particularly like sitting and having coffee while another person is eating. Not because I can't handle it, but I just have most of the people I've ever tried that with, they're like they want me to eat. They're like, please, you know, come on, just eat. Like go ahead and eat, you know. And I would rather do that if I'm going to do that. So that's why I say like if lunch is important to you, then do lunch. Or you could also like you can also customize your plan to something that works that is maybe a bit of a like it's not all one way or the other. I like doing the same thing every single day if I possibly can because that's just how my brain works the best. But some people really like having a variety in their week. So for example, some people do like OMAD like 2 days a week or 3 days a week, and then they do 2MAD the other day, so they kind of get the best of both worlds. So you can do something like that. You can customize your plan to exactly what you need it to be to fit perfectly into your life. That's what I highly recommend you do. So yeah. Now as far as like actually cooking, well, like I'm doing OMAD, let's say, does it bother me to cook a full meal and just serve it to somebody? No. That really hasn't I don't think it's ever bothered me really. I'm trying to think. I mean, I think in the beginning it was like, ooh, this really smells good. And food, by the way, smells really good when you're fasting. Like it's like a heightened sense of smell. So it does smell really good, but I guess I just kind of learned to enjoy the smell. Like I can just enjoy how this smells right now, and I don't have to eat it. And knowing also that if I wait to eat, it's gonna taste even better. Like just food in general, it tastes so much better if you fast some. So let's see here. Yazan Alcala. I'm sorry. I probably butchered your last name, and I tried, but I think I failed. Says, hey, I eat OMAD, but once I start eating carbs, I gain weight. I can't get any benefits unless I cut carbs off. Any thoughts? Thank you for the great content. Well, here's the thing. I eat carbs. I eat a lot of carbs. I love carbs. I don't want to cut them out of my life. And I've tried that before. I've tried doing the low carb thing. And so a couple of different things just to consider. Because it sounds to me, by the way you worded the question, you want to eat carbs. Like, you sound a bit sad about the idea of cutting carbs out. so I'm just gonna assume that's kind of the intent of your question. But okay, so first of all, if you are low carb, right? Like if you are like completely low carb or no carb, and then you add carbs back in, your body will absolutely put on water weight. It is how your body stores carbohydrates. You can look it up. I'm not a scientist, but you can look that up and you can see the science behind it. So in other words, even if all you do is you eat the right amount of calories, right? But you go from eating no carbs to some carbs, you will gain some water weight. It's just how your body deals with carbs. Okay. So that can be one aspect that's happening. You're low carb and then you try to add carbs back in and your weight does go up a bit because your body needs to hold on to some more water while it has carbs in its body. And so it's not so much fat increase, that kind of weight that you don't want, but it's just more water. So so that's just something to kind of keep in mind. But let's say you're like, no, like I have been low carb and then I start adding carbs back in and then I really do start to gain a significant amount of weight over time. It just trends up and up and up and up and up and up and I can't lose weight. Okay. So here's the thing. Carbs are easy to overeat on, and protein is, you can overeat on. I mean, that's the thing. Like, I watched a video a while back of a guy who does strict carnivore, but he like just overate on purpose, overate to the point where he gained 28 pounds in 1 month doing carnivore. And Jay, I don't know if you can find that video, but you could link to it maybe. But so in other words, it's not, oh, well, if you just eat protein, you like are bulletproof against gaining weight. It's just all about calories. It's just like protein, you chew it, right? It just takes longer to consume it. Maybe it fills you up a bit better, but it can also, for some people, this is true for me. I find that if I just have like very high protein, it doesn't stick with me. Like I don't have that feeling of satiation But if I have a little bit of everything, so in other words, some carbs, some fat, and some protein, I feel the best. I feel the most full. Yes, that guy with the beard. Anyway, um, so uh, so the point is, you can lose weight eating carbs. It's just that, okay, like you sit there and you eat a bag of chips. It's super easy to eat a bag of chips. Like, and so it's just easy to eat too many calories when you're eating carbs, especially if the carbs that you are eating are super processed, highly delicious foods like, Doritos and, maybe like candy, like maybe not candy, but like candy bars, cookies, prepackaged cookies, things like that. I do a lot of home cooking. Most everything, not everything, but most everything I eat is home cooked to some extent. So in other words, like, yes, I will absolutely buy boxed noodles, right? Like they're dried and I have to just boil them. Like I don't always make noodles from scratch. I've done it before, but they're kind of a pain. So but some people might say, oh, that's so processed. So I never know really what people's definitions are. But what I have found is that if you go the route of just making stuff from scratch, which by the way is a lot cheaper and it's way like tastier in my opinion. Like once you start cooking and you get good at it, it's really hard to go out and get a better meal than you can get at home, in my experience. But what I found is like if I make a chocolate cake, right? That chocolate cake is really filling because it's all the ingredients are richer and they fill you up better. And so whereas like with a piece of chocolate cake, it's like, okay, I had that piece of chocolate cake and now I'm full. Like if I have like a little Debbie, like a fudge round or something like that, it's like I can eat that and feel like I didn't eat anything just now. Like I need to eat a bunch of those. So so that's one thing you can look at if you are really having trouble with carbs and you are like, what are some little tricks? Like that would be one thing. Just start making everything from scratch that you can. And just know that if you are eating a lot of prepackaged, like really processed foods, they are being engineered to the bliss point, meaning that like scientists have figured out exactly that combination of how salty and sweet and crunchy something needs to be for us to just keep wanting to eat and eat and eat and eat and eat, which is great for food companies because they want to move a lot of product. And I'm not, that's on them. Like that's what they want to do. I get it. You got to make a profit. But on our end, you just have to know, like when you sit down in front of a TV with a bag of Doritos, like you're fighting a losing battle. if you're only going to try to depend on your stomach to tell you you've had enough, because it's just really easy to eat too much, especially if you're distracted at the same time. So like cutting out distractions, focusing on the food, and then also just uh, having patience with yourself also as you're learning how much to eat. I highly recommend everybody just eat everything, because I that was one of the best things about intermittent fasting for me was with this style of eating, you don't have to cut out things. You don't have to cut out carbs. You don't. I eat dessert. I will eat fast food if I need to. I don't often because it's super expensive these days. But I can eat anything. I can go into any situation where there's food and feel comfortable, like it's all on the menu. So I don't have to worry about that anymore. So, and that is just such an easier kind of thing. Whereas I see other people who have more like really restrictive kind of diets. And yes, it can provide those short-term kind of victories, but in the long run, either they just can't stick with it. Like maybe they get down to the goal weight, but they regain, or they just can't get to their goal weight because it's so hard to just cut those things out of your life. So there you go. So those are my thoughts. You just have to eat less. If you are gaining weight or failing to lose weight, it just means you got to eat a little less. It doesn't mean that you have to change what you're eating. All right. Wanya Rauhu. Hi, does 14-10 fasting work? Yes, it does. Absolutely. Let me take a sip. I'm a bit hot. I was outside. It's hot in Florida right now. Very, very hot. I've been watching this girl on YouTube. Her handle is Wild Floridian. And I learned about her through, gosh, now his name just left my head. I just interviewed him. It was a success story. I think his name was Justin, but I can't remember his last name. Forgive me for forgetting all this. But anyway, the point is, he told me about her. She lives in Central Florida also. So she's all about gardening, and we have a house now. And so I am trying to start a garden. So her stuff is great. She's just like, she's super fun. I can't even remember why I was going to talk about her stuff. Oh, I was going out in my yard and looking to see if we had any like native stuff that produces like fruit or anything, and we don't. So so that's why I'm hot right now. But yeah, 14-10 fasting. So 14-10 fasting absolutely works. Fasting for 0 hours can work. It's just about eating the right amount of food. The challenge with something like a 14-10 is that really that's not that different than what you're likely already doing anyway. And so, okay, so the idea with intermittent fasting is that it helps you to have a squished amount of time to eat your food in, basically. The idea is that if you just have those natural kind of boundaries that are like, it's a clear, like, don't eat right now, that hopefully that will just facilitate eating the right amount of food. But if you look at the eating window as a chance for gluttony, you're not going to lose weight. Like, it's like you have to use it for what it's intended for. What it's intended for is to try to help you eat the right amount of calories. So you can't just look at it as like, no, I get to lose my head. Like, you have to try to really pay attention to how full you're feeling, what the scale is doing, and how you're feeling, and all that good stuff. You want to feel good and hungry when you eat. You don't want to feel overfull when you're done eating, and you want to have plenty of energy in the interim. So if ever you're feeling like really lethargic, you're probably not eating enough. If you are feeling overly full after a meal, you're probably eating too much at the meal. And if you're not really hungry when you eat, you're probably eating a little bit too much. So like you kind of, it takes time to kind of figure that out. But so a 10-hour span of eating, like you could really eat a lot of food in that time. And so, but can you lose weight? Absolutely. Like if your body requires, say, 1,500 calories, or let's say it requires 1,800 calories, because people say, oh, that's not enough. Okay, so let's say it requires 1,800 calories and you eat 1,500 calories in a 10-hour window. Will you lose weight over time? Absolutely. All day long you will. So it's not so much about the length of the window per se. It's about your behavior in that window. So you have to kind of start to understand yourself. Like, how are you going to behave yourself in that 10-hour window? Are you going to be able to eat the proper amount of food? Some people, a longer eating window works way better than a shorter one. And you might think, well, that doesn't make any sense. But it does, because some people, like, what will happen, they don't do that great with fasting. Like, their body just kind of like gets miserable. So that's not good. So if you're feeling miserable during a long eating window, shorten it up. And then you're going to have to just pay more attention to portion sizes and things like that in the eating window. But some people, like, they find it really difficult to eat the appropriate amount of food, either in one of two ways. Either they will feel so hungry and like they get kind of like almost an out of control feeling by the time the OMAD comes around or whatever, that they're just like, they way overeat, and that's not good. The other side of it is that they just can't eat enough at that one meal, and so then it starts this cycle of, I didn't eat enough at the meal, and now I feel miserable, and I've got a headache, and I have low energy, and that's not good either. So you kind of have to like experiment, and unfortunately the only way to figure all this stuff out is to actually go forth and fast and figure out, how do I feel when I have a 14-10, or when I do a 14-10? How do I feel at a slightly longer fast? And pushing it out slowly. That's what I did. I did not go fast with my fasting. I was very slow, baby stepper kind of mentality about it. I eventually got to OMAD, love OMAD. As it turns out, my body loves long fasting periods. Like, it just does. It just feels really good. I get a lot accomplished. It just works well with my life. But other people, not so much. So yes, 14-10 can absolutely work. And I understand how frustrating it is, though, because if you look around on the internet, I know, like, I can just tell you right now, people are more interested in like a 16.8 or an 18.6, and they kind of get these things in their head like you can't lose weight at a lesser one, or like, or the longer the window the better. That's just my opinion, not the case. You have to find what works best for you. All right. Biz Dixon 656 says, do you recommend a certain brand of an at-home scale? Well, the one I have is called a healthometer or a healthometer. I'm not really sure which one it is. I got mine at Walmart. I'm pretty sure you can get them on Amazon. Maybe my husband will link to the exact one I have. It's white and it has black foot pad thingies. And all it tells you is your weight. That's all it tells you. It does not tell you body fat or anything like that. Why? Why don't I care about body fat, you might ask? Because my understanding, and I look at the research about every year, but the last time I looked it up was a little bit more recently than that, and body fat scale percentages, all that stuff is still not great at home. At home, not great. Now, DEXA scans, things like that, where you like go and you pay a lot of money to get them done, those can be a lot more accurate. But I don't really care. Like, I don't know. I would prefer to just kind of go on how do I feel. I mean, I'm at a, normal BMI. My waist circumference is in the right range. So I don't care to know that statistic. So that's why I use the plain Jane healthometer. It gives you like to the point, like to the nearest 0.2 maybe. So anyway, let's see. And I'm kind of a cheapskate also. I'm very frugal. So like, I know some people go for like the scales that will like automatically send things to your phone. And that can be good, but it can also be helpful to have to manually enter stuff sometimes. You become more aware of your patterns and things like that. So, all right. Yvette Cabaretti 7828 says, is Splenda allowed in coffee and teas? What about milk, half and half, and creamer? Great question. So, I happen to be a dirty faster. That's what people call me. No, I'm just saying, like that is a term. I don't know who started it, but like, so the idea of like clean fasting is when you don't have anything in the fasting window. Although, okay, so this gets into a gray area like almost immediately. So you'll have some clean fasters who will say nothing but water. And then you'll have some that say, well, water and black coffee only. Or some that will say water and black coffee and unflavored teas only. And then you kind of like just, it gets more and more gray until you get to people like me who are like, just have your coffee how you like it. Have your tea how you like it. Whatever gets you through the fasting window, that's my stance, is like, whatever gets you through the coffee, or through the coffee window, through the fasting window. So I personally, when I first started intermittent fasting, I had my coffee with sugar and half and half. And it was a tablespoon of sugar and several tablespoons of half and half. And now it's like more like just enough half and half to turn it the right color, which I know is not that helpful because it's probably 2 to 3 tablespoons, probably. Maybe a little bit more. Depends on the roast. Depends on how strong the coffee is. It's just got to turn this nice color that I like. So, but I say, I mean, even if you need to add sugar, I have no problem with that. I know, well, because here's the thing. Again, you can lose weight. Even if you have your coffee exactly how you like it, you can still lose weight, no matter really what kind of coffee that is and how you fix it, because you just have to eat a little less at your meals or at your meal, depending on like what kind of fasting are you doing. It like that will not prevent you from losing weight. And so, yes, Splenda, absolutely. I don't use Splenda on a day-to-day basis. I don't really like the taste of artificial sweeteners. Just in general, I don't really like the way they taste. I also don't like how they make me feel. I get gassy, and I don't like that. So I tend to avoid them. Although if someone gives me a drink that has, Splenda or whatever, I am grateful for it. And sometimes they're actually pretty good. Like I've had a few in the past, say, year. They're like, oh, that actually doesn't taste as bad as they used to taste. So maybe they've made improvements in how it tastes. I don't know. Or maybe my taste buds are changing. I am getting older, so I know that your taste buds change. So yeah, so half and half for those of you who don't know, because I know that this is a question I get often, is like, what is half and half? Half and half is an American thing, apparently. And so what it is called in your country may be different, but basically it is 1 part heavy cream and 1 part whole milk. Okay, so if you take equal parts of heavy cream and milk and put it together, that makes half and half, and it's delicious. It's the perfect consistency for your coffee. Like, it's just like, I've tried milk, and I also occasionally like heavy whipping cream in my coffee, but heavy whipping cream is a bit heavy for down here in Florida for me. Like maybe when it's colder, it's okay, but man, when it's like really super hot, like it's just too much. But then milk just doesn't give it enough creaminess. I'm kind of picky about this, so yeah, half and half, good stuff, love it. And I have always allowed myself as much coffee as I want during the fasting window, which made fasting feel really easy, by the way, because it was like, there would be times where I'd be not necessarily hungry, although if you're hungry and you have a cup of coffee, usually the hunger goes away. But sometimes it's just like, I just want something like a meal break, like just an excuse to kind of sit there and just enjoy something. And coffee does that for me. And yeah. And so I was able to do that the entire time I was losing weight. I never, it's not like this is something I started recently. From the beginning, I eventually weaned myself off of the sugar in the coffee. That was mainly for 2 reasons. One, I thought that it might make fasting even easier, because I kept hearing like, oh, but whenever you have sugar, it like spikes your blood sugar, and then you feel like really bad and, I don't know, hungry. And so I thought, oh well, I mean, maybe I'm making it harder on myself than it needs to be. But even after getting rid of the sugar in my coffee, I never noticed a difference one way or the other in how I felt or anything. But now I don't like sugar in my coffee at all. Like if it accidentally gets put in there, unless it's really, really bad coffee, I just like, oh, like why does it have sugar in it? Which is funny because I love sweet stuff, but I just don't like sugar in my coffee anymore, unless it's an Irish coffee. That is, or if it's coffee ice cream, I do like that kind of sweetness. So yeah, so coffee. The other reason though that I got rid of the sugar in my coffee was I tend to get cavities easy, or not so much anymore, but I used to get them a lot easier. So I thought it's probably not great to have that sugar sitting on my teeth. And so that was another motivation for me to get rid of it. But again, I don't know how much of a difference it really made. So Shiny says, hello, how do I break a fast? What do I eat immediately after breaking my fast? Well, I eat whatever I want. And that has always been my my motto, the way I do fasting. I do not break it gently. I break it. When I break it hard. I mean, so some people, what they'll do is they'll open their fasting, or their eating window with bone broth. I've never had bone broth, unless you call chicken broth bone broth, which maybe you do. But I don't do it like that. I've done 5-day fast. I've done 2 5-day fasts before, and in both of those cases, I did not break it gently at all. So the first time I did the 5-day fast, it was a charcuterie board, which is like a meat and cheese board that you put together, and it had roast beef and bread and crackers and I think cherry tomatoes and cheese and peanut butter M&Ms. It is so not what people on YouTube would be like, and here's how you break your 5-day fast. Just that's just not the advice you're going to get. And I don't recommend that, by the way. I probably just have an iron stomach, and that's probably a terrible idea for most people. But I don't find that I do badly if I break it with whatever I want. The second 5-day fast, I broke it with spaghetti made with turkey meat. And I mean, that wasn't as delicious as the charcuterie board, but I didn't have any sickness or anything after that. I felt fine. I think because our bodies are made for that. Sometimes you need to go without food for an extended period of time and you don't want to die. So we were created with this ability to go for an extended period of time without food. And then when we actually do get in front of food, yeah, we can feast on it and still be fine. So, all right. Dap asks, Why do you fast? Good question. So the reason I started fasting was different than I think why I continue to fast. So I started fasting because I wanted to lose weight and I wanted to be able to eat whatever I wanted. And I wanted to eat big meals also. I was like, I mean, well, better said, I knew that I tended to eat big meals and I thought, oh, well, if I could figure out how to eat big meals and still lose weight, then that would be good. So that's why I started fasting. But as I've been fasting, there have been so many benefits that I've come across that I still do fast, and I prefer to fast. And actually, right now I'm taking I'm not sure how long of a break it's going to be from fasting. So right now I'm an Orthodox Christian, and right now we're in Easter season. So Easter is a time when we're not supposed to fast. So we fast in Lent, and then like for 40 days after Easter we don't fast. And so this year I'm trying that, although right now I'm going through some very stressful stuff in my, I have some extended, it's not even extended, anyway, family members going through some very difficult health challenges. So right now I'm pretty stressed. And so combining a lot of stress with not fasting is maybe not going to work for me. So like, I don't know, but for the past few days, because it's been Easter season, I have not been fasting. So I've not been fasting. But why do I like to fast? I really like to fast because it has put things in their proper place. So food is something that I can easily use to numb out with. So if I'm stressed or I'm upset or sad or fill in the blank with whatever emotion, and I don't want to feel that emotion, it's just really super easy for me to want to just eat so that I don't feel that emotion, which is not good. And so there have been a lot of spiritual benefits from fasting, like relying more on God and less on myself, that kind of a thing. Because if you can't eat and you're like upset about something, it's like you finally are like, oh yeah, I should pray about that. Whoa, sorry, gosh, I keep kicking it. Sorry. So there's that. So there's the spiritual benefits are really good. It gives me so much time during my day. I get so much more accomplished. My day just moves better. I create more if I'm fasting. I enjoy food more also when I'm fasting. Like the food tastes better. I enjoy it more. I love that feeling of like fasting all day, then sitting down to a meal, and then you get good and full, and then you're just like, and you stand up and you start fasting again. I just love that. I love that pattern. I love that feeling. I've never enjoyed food more than when I've fasted, especially OMAD, especially that. So those are the reasons why I continue to fast. It's not so much about the weight loss at this point. I mean, it is very helpful to maintain the weight loss. I do believe if I had to, I could teach myself how to, lose weight or maintain in a certain range by not fasting. You know what I mean? Like it would require more like thinking on my part, and and it would be harder, but I think I could do it because again, it's all about calories. But that's why I fast. Okay, Shiny, what do you mean by a 5-day fast? So 5-day fast meaning 5 consecutive days of no eating. So the first time I did it, I did allow myself black coffee. That was like the one thing I allowed myself. And I hate black coffee, and I really regret saying that I was going to have black coffee during it, because it was gross and disgusting, and I hated it, and it would almost make me feel sick, like, to drink it. Like, it was like, why did I do this? I know why I did it. I get caffeine headaches if I don't keep my caffeine intake consistent. And so I thought, well, it would just be easier if I just keep that caffeine the same, just take out the half and half. It was gross. So 5 days. So it would be like, let's see, when I can't remember. I think I generally started them on like Sunday evening, and then I went until Friday evening. I think that's right. You can go back and look at the videos I did. I think I did a video for both 5-day fasts. Anyway, but yeah, 5 days of fasting. The second one I did, it was another 5 full days, no coffee or anything, just water only fasting, no food at all, no coffee, no half and half, nothing. And that one was miserable too, but for different reasons. Like, we didn't have electricity. We were camping, like we were RVing at that time, and we were in a place that had no electricity, and so it was kind of miserable. And I feel miserable too. Like, a longer fast like that, I get really bad lower back pain, like really super bad. And which is perhaps related to my immune system, like rejuvenating, which is the whole kind of point of 5-day fasts. Like, why would I even do a 5-day fast? It was not for weight loss. It was because I had heard that it may, again, this is all like, it's not medical advice. This is just like what I heard, that it may provide a little bit of cancer insurance. So in other words, like, if you fast for 5 days, it might be that if there is any kind of cancer in your body, that'll get like wiped out. Maybe, would that happen? I don't know, but it felt like a very low risk, high reward kind of activity. So there you go. Constural says, Kayla, are you still walking 6 miles a day? Okay, so I have not been walking 6 miles a day. I have switched, at least for now, to swimming. And I'm also planning on adding in some weight training also to that. But we'll see. I may return to 6 miles. There are certain aspects of walking 6 miles that I really, really, really enjoy. But there are certain aspects of like swimming and weightlifting that I also enjoy. But I can't let exercise take up too much of my day. Like, it can get out of hand. So I'm trying to find that right balance between, like, I do find that I still keep habits that I kind of started with walking, just getting more steps in. Like, when I'm proofreading something, I get up and walk around while I'm doing it. Or if I'm watching a video that I've made for this channel, like, in order to make sure everything sounds right, looks right, I'll walk while I'm watching it instead of just sitting there watching on the screen, things like that. So I do still continue to try to be as active as possible. And I really like how I feel when I get a good long walk in. It's helpful with thinking and praying and all that good stuff. So yeah, I would say I'm still very active, but I don't necessarily walk 6 miles consistently. And I don't even know how far I'm swimming. I just know it's 50 laps. So it's not very far. It's not 6 miles, I can tell you that right now. But it does gives me that same level of well-being, I feel like, as far as my muscle. If anything, it actually feels a bit more challenging. In the beginning, it felt more like muscular kind of stuff that happens because I'm using different muscles than I would be when I'm just walking, because it uses your legs and your arms, and it's all that stuff's working together. I certainly noticed more like cardio kind of, stuff with it. Breathe, makes you breathe harder and stuff like that. But I enjoy it. So yeah, so we'll see. Hafsa Mafaus says, can I lose the same amount of weight with ADF, which is alternate day fasting, and rolling 72 type of fast in the same amount of time? Let's see. Can you lose the same amount? Let's see. Okay, so I'm a little bit confused by the question, but I will answer. I think I understand the spirit of the question. So generally, when people talk about alternate day fasting, it's like you will fast for a whole day, and then you'll eat maybe a little something. Well, people practice it in different ways, but let's just say for simplicity's sake, you fast a day and then you eat just normally on another day, and then you fast, and so it's just like this alternating schedule of fasting and eating. Rolling 72s would be 1, 2, 3. That's 3 days of fast, like a 3-day fast followed by eating. And then, in my understanding, this is kind of like a new thing. Like, I've heard some people talking about like rolling fast, and so then there's like a refeeding period, and I think that can vary. Although somebody maybe will correct me in the comments. Like, I don't know if it's a full day or if it's just like an eating period, and then your next 72 hours starts again. But Here's what I will say. You have to find what works for you, right? But the way you word the question makes it seem like you're really concerned with losing the weight fast. And I was there. Like, that's how I used to be all the time about weight loss. It was like, I just want to get this weight off real fast. I want to be done with it. And then I want to go back to my regular life. Like, that's what I wanted to do. But here's the problem with that kind of like mindset. You're treating your weight problem as if it is a temporary problem that just needs solving. Like, you just got to check that box and then you can go back to doing what you were doing. But if you do that, you're going to regain the weight. Because, so your weight gain is most likely, I mean, there are rare exceptions, but there are exceptions. But generally speaking, when people have gained weight, a significant amount of weight, it points to there being habitual problems with food. So in other words, stress eating, just maybe not even paying attention to what you're eating, just doing a lot of distracted eating, maybe not for emotional reasons, but just because that's just what you do. It's like I sit down in front of the TV and I, eat my food, and that's just what I do. There can just be these habits. And if you don't permanently change your behavior around food, you will gain the weight back. And so how does that relate to fast weight loss? A lot of times when people are so focused on the fast, it's like they're thinking, this is a temporary thing, I just got to do it, and then I can do something else. But you have to keep the weight off. And that points back to, you got to just permanently change your behavior around food. Now, 72-hour fast permanently for the rest of your life, can you do that? Probably. I mean, I don't know. Like, I have not seen a lot of research on that, or, I don't know of that being a practice, that has been done, in different societies or things like that. I'm not saying it can't be done. Maybe it can. But I would imagine that would be really difficult on your social life. Now, like, for me and my family, like OMAD is as, I don't want to call it radical, but let's call it radical. That's as radical as I want to go with fasting. Anything more than that would be too much for me and my family. Like, it would just start to encroach on family time and stuff like that. And I take a day off also. and even so, like, OMAD's enough. But yeah, like, if you're so focused on the time frame, it points to maybe you're not really focused on how sustainable is this for the long run. Can you see yourself doing this for 10 years? If you can't, you probably want to pick a different plan. And the weight will come off. Like, let's say you decided to do, rolling 72s, got all the weight off like really fast, right? But if you end up gaining that weight back, within a few months, then you're no better off than you were when you got started. Whereas if you had started to make permanent lifestyle changes that you really can stick with for the rest of your life, then you're going to have permanent weight loss. You're not going to be ever gaining the weight back. So even if it's much, much slower, you're going to be much better off. Does that make sense? Like, it's a different kind of mindset, though. If you can get okay with the idea of this is going to take a long time, this is about permanent behavior change around food, it's going to be messy because human behavior, changing it is hard, and it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of, like, doing the work day after day after day after day, and it's usually not fast progress. It's usually like 2 steps forward, 1 step back, but it's still progress because, that's what progress is. So anyway, so I would say don't focus so much on the speed. Look at your life and say, like, hey, will that really work? Is that, like, sustainable? Do I like how that fits? And if it does, then do that, whatever it is, ADF, rolling 72s, whatever. Don't really worry about the amount of time, though. Experience with me says, if you don't mind me asking, did or do you work full-time, or are you a full-time stay-at-home mom with your kiddos? I don't know what I am. So, okay. I'll just, like, I'll give you, like, here's what it has looked like. Well, okay, I've always been, let's put it this way, I've always been a stay-at-home mom. I homeschool my kids, but I've also worked pretty much the whole time, with maybe a couple of exceptions. And I've done a lot of different things. Like I've been a software tester, freelance. I do a lot of freelance stuff. So I've done website design, I've done graphic design, we've done videography, so software testing. I was doing software testing back in 2014, 2015. That was when I started losing weight. Then let's see, 2017 was when I started this channel, and so then in 2018, that's when we started RVing, and then this channel kind of took off, and then it started providing an income for us, and that was really nice. And so since that time, like, so I've written books, obviously, for this channel. Oh, I should mention, if I were a good marketer, I would have done that in the beginning probably, but I've written books about all this stuff that people have found helpful. And if you would like to get them, they are on Amazon and most major book retailers. So, and I'm sure Jay will provide the links for that. So written books. I've got some courses on Teachable, and I do coaching, and let's see, what else? Yeah, and I've got memberships on this channel. Thank you for all the members out there. I should have said that in the beginning too. I just forget these things. And so yeah, so like I work, and what's full time? I mean, gosh, see, this is tricky too, because in some ways, I never, or I'm very rarely not working in my head. So like the nature of like trying to create videos and that kind of thing, I'm always thinking about different things. And it's like, it's a weird thing when you're on YouTube. It's like so many different situations I'll be in, and I'll be like, oh yeah, this is like on the weight loss journey, and I'll think like, oh, that would be a good video, and then I have to be like, oh no, I'm supposed to be focusing on this other thing. So so in a way, I'm kind of always working, so it feels like, yes, I'm absolutely full-time, like more than full-time. But then as far as like how many hours a week am I like sitting in front of a computer screen and editing or that kind of a thing, even then I would say it's pretty close to being full-time. Pretty close. Anyway, so, and then I write and do other things too. So yeah, I love it too. I love to work. I love to be at home with kids, and I love that I have the ability to do both at the same time. Pals M says, is a person with hypothyroidism allowed to do fasting? That would be something to take up with your doctor. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what the protocol is on that. So ask away to a doctor, preferably. Nightmare 007. That's a nice name. Kayla, do you have a video of a sample of what you eat at your one meal? I would love to see a sample of what you eat. Thanks for the video. I really appreciate your advice. I do have, let's see, there are several videos that I've made, although apparently I should make more. See, here's the thing about the things that I eat. Like, I feel like, how boring is that? I just eat normal food. Like, it's not gourmet anything. It's not pretty, like, I don't know. And I just feel also like a couple of different things. One, what I like, maybe you'll hate, or, you may have very strong feelings about the things I eat. Mayonnaise, for example, so some people are like, oh, like, it's like terrible, and some people love it. And so it's, it can be kind of a controversial thing, different things I eat. But I did make a video called Intermittent Fasting Meal Plan, and that video you may find useful because I talked about what I ate in a week. It's also a blog post on my website where it kind of like takes you through how much of each thing that I ate. I did do it based on recall. So in other words, like I sat down and worked backwards through my week to tell you what I ate. Now, the bad part of that is memory can be faulty, right? So that's one thing. But there's also the Hawthorne effect? Basically, this phenomenon where if a person knows they're being observed, they change their behavior. So the danger of me doing a video like, come with me on a week of eating, I am going to totally change what I'm eating for the camera. I mean, that's just how human behavior works. And it's like, and I've struggled with this because I'm like, that would be so helpful. But then I know, like, in just like the instant I want to do it, then it's like, oh, but then I want to like change what I'm eating, or like not even change what I'm eating, but I just start to overthink it to like the nth degree. So, but I did do that video. I also did a video not that long ago about like super cheap OMAD meals. Maybe, I don't know. Jay, maybe you can look that up. But I eat all the food. Okay. Like I eat on a regular basis spaghetti with meat sauce, with garlic bread sometimes with a salad, but sometimes not with a salad. Tacos are a thing that we eat. Beans and rice, black beans and white rice. I love that combination with mayonnaise. It is so good, and sriracha sauce. So good. Um, I love man-pleasing chicken. Haven't made that in a while though. Which is like chicken thighs and uh, maple syrup and Dijon mustard. Oh, it's so good. But I love rice. I love all the different staple kind of foods. Biscuits and gravy, cube steak. You know, like it's just all the food. It's just like all the food, whatever I like, and I just eat it. That's all there is to it. But I do understand. People are like, well, what do you actually eat? Well, that's a good example of some things that I eat. Uh, things that I don't probably eat enough of: vegetables. Like, I mean, I like vegetables, but I just like most people would probably say, oh, you're not eating enough vegetables. Except for carnivores. Carnivores would be like, you're eating too many vegetables. um, yeah. I don't buy organic. It's not that I have anything against it, but it's just like budget reasons. Like I said, I do make most stuff from scratch, but I will eat like prepackaged things. Like last night we had hot dogs and mac and cheese from a box. So there you go. Like, and yes, people will hate me for that. I remember one time. So this is why I don't look at comments, YouTube comments, because there was like this one lady a long time ago. I said on a video, basically the standard American diet, and she was so upset with me for that, and I was just like, and I was so like, it ruined my day. Anyway, but I did explain to her, like, look, when I don't eat out, all I meant by that was like, I just eat like American food. Like, I'm not doing fancy things, you know. Anyway, although I think you can be healthy on it. So, but we're not going to get into that. I like my own personal philosophy on that, I guess, to delve into it slightly, is I think most health problems come from overeating in general. Like, it's not about per se, like this particular macronutrient, you shouldn't be eating that. Like, it's just stop eating too much food. There. So, Natasha Patterson 3608 says, "Are you Orthodox?" I am. I'm an Orthodox Christian. That's my icon of Jesus. It's my favorite icon. Pantocrator shows the two natures of Jesus: fully human, fully God. Anyway, okay. Well, thank you guys so much for joining. Let's see. Other things. I have not made a podcast episode in quite some time. I'm sorry for that, for those of you who do listen. I plan on getting back to it. It's just, things have been crazy. I will just say that. Things have been crazy, and I'm doing the best I can. So yeah, so thanks for watching. And if you want to check out the other videos, I've got like over 600 videos on this channel, all about intermittent fasting, weight loss, all that good stuff. I also have a website, 6milestosupper.com. You can also look at the courses, 6milestosupper.com/course. And yeah, so thanks very much, and I will see you guys next week.